We are not licensed medical professionals. The thoughts and opinions expressed on this podcast are meant to share our experiences and not to diagnose or as a form of treatment. If you or anyone you know is currently suffering, respectfully encourage them to seek help from a licensed medical professional. The topics discussed in this podcast may be triggering for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
I was waiting. Okay, I'm sorry. Hello, welcome back to Now Try It With Wine. I'm Des.
And I'm Mary. Today we're going to talk about self-worth. Not self-esteem, self-worth.
You get that?
There's a difference.
Big difference.
The interwebs have this definition.
The WWWs.
I'm sorry. I wasn't expecting that.
Should I say the 3 W's?
I was thinking the WWE when you said it. Like,
sorry. The World Wide Web.
Boom. Okay, so the definition is: self-esteem is what we think and feel and believe about ourselves. Self-worth is recognizing I am greater than all of those things. It is a deep knowing that I am of value, that I am lovable, necessary to this life, and incomprehensible worth.
Do they correlate?
They do correlate, and I know that a lot of people, when I did my research, there was a lot of overlap.
Okay.
So when I was looking for defined self-worth, it kept giving me definitions of self-esteem. I think there's a nuance between the two, because I have really high self-esteem, but I don't think I'm worth anything.
I think my self-esteem and my self-worth is like, my self-worth's a little higher up. It's like 60%. My self-esteem's 40. You know what I mean?
I think it's like your value as a person.
Yeah.
To yourself is your self-worth. Self-esteem is like how confident you feel in performing something. To me, that's what it means. So like, for example, I feel very confident in my work ethic and the output that I put in there, but I don't feel within the organization I have enough worth.
Okay.
That's an example. That's not how I feel.
I'm thinking more self-esteem wise is like image.
Yeah, self-image.
Like
confidence.
Yeah. Now I know I'm self-loving. I love my body. And self-worth is, I don't know. You know what? We'll get
your
more
value
into it.
of that. Your value of your confidence. Like how you value yourself. Like I'm worth this person's respect, understanding.
I'm worth Andrew's respect.
Exactly. Like self-esteem is how like I feel really good about myself. I feel like I look good. I feel good. And self-worth is almost like how you have value, and so you're gonna expect that from other people. I value myself enough that's not good enough anymore. That behavior isn't good enough anymore. That language isn't good enough anymore.
Okay.
So before we get into our examples of self-worth, let's take a quick assessment. Oh, let me put my glasses on.
Oh man, do I need paper?
So,
I'm already unzipping
ding,
my pencil case.
So we're going to do a quick assessment.
Okay.
I'm going to give you 7 statements and think about how true each of these are for you.
Okay.
Statement number 1. Rule number 2.
Pick number 3, my lord.
We're going to go through that list the whole time. Number 1. I feel that I truly deserve everything I have in my life.
Oh, am I supposed to say it?
What do you think?
I think false.
Same. So that's a bad score on that one.
Oh, fuck.
I feel at any moment that something amazing might happen to me. False. I feel like that Dwight me. False.
I would say false too, but I'm trying to change that mindset. You know, that TikTok thing where I'm so grateful that everything happens to me.
I do think that affirmations will help build your self-worth.
Let's continue. I'm losing.
I know I'm 2 for 2 right now. If I take away all of the roles I play in my life, I still love who I am at the very core. This one to me,
Yikes.
that was hitting. That was hitting. I don't know who I am without being a wife, a mother, a daughter, a friend. Like, once you take away the role I play in other people's lives, who am I?
I make everybody's appointments in my family.
You made me my appointment to the dentist. But if you took all of that away, would you still be happy with yourself?
I guess, yeah, because I'm someone that can still be counted on. Like,
No, but you got to take all that away.
oh, fuck, no.
See, I feel the same thing with me. Like, if I'm not playing a role in the bigger picture that is my community, I don't feel like I have any value.
It's sounds like a culture problem, too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sip my wine now.
Yes. Let's take a sip in the middle way through this because I'm very disappointed in myself.
Ooh. Don't taste good warm.
No, it does not.
Should I open another bottle?
It tasted really good when we got it, and it was nice and cold.
Now it's warm. This is our second one today.
Now it feels like
our second recording.
Like, oh yeah. But now it feels like the juice, the one that we had a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that Hawaiian punch one. It wasn't Hawaiian punch. It just never got cold.
I need to I'm going to walk through the wine aisle with you and be like, which one of these have you tried and we did not
You got my favorite one.
I did?
And it's a twist top.
Oh, bring it.
Okay, hold on.
Un momento, por favor. Oh, yeah. It was nice. Okay, leave some for me.
I didn't mean to.
It actually came out really good.
Oh, it
like
did?
really crisp.
I'm so excited to hear it.
I like this one too, but the one I gave you last week is still my favorite.
Really good. Okay. So we're on question 4.
4. I have a yes. Okay, sorry. Number 4, my lord. I have a clear understanding of who I am outside of my job, my hobbies, and my relationships. Who are you if not your job and hobbies?
Well, see, I would say true. But then I feel like that one ties back to your other things.
Yeah, I feel like it does too.
So is it false?
I think roles is different.
Okay, well then I'm saying true.
Okay. I agree with you on this one. I think I have a good understanding of who I am of who I am outside of my job and hobbies.
Yeah.
When negative things happen in my life, I see them as a punishment. I go a little step further than that. Not only do I see it as a punishment, but I see it as a justified punishment for something that I have done.
I'm okay. Like when something bad happens, I don't know. Let's say like my car breaks down. God forbid, I'm knocking on wood.
We both did it together.
If it happened, I'd be like, okay, what wasn't I doing to my car that I could have been doing? You know, like I wasn't taking it to its its monthly maintenances. I didn't change the oil when I was supposed to.
No, I see it like when I think of a punishment, I'm thinking like, let's say my car did break down. It's because I'm a bad person and I didn't hold the door open for X, Y, and Z person. And now God is punishing me.
See, that's another thing in our culture.
Because I also think that like the religious aspect, it's always like your vengeful God. Like he does things when you do something wrong. He's going to put obstacles in your path or make things more complicated. I think that it's a really slippery slope to say that God is in charge of both things, the good and the bad. Because you can't be in charge of the good and not be in charge of the bad.
Producer, what do you think? Oh, you weren't listening?
Yes. Producer thinks, well, there's good, there's evil. There's always going to be a balance of good and evil, no matter where. It's like light and dark. There's always going to be a yin to that yang. So some say that evil things happen because of free will or because of the devil. Other people say that God is the one that's in charge of both evil and good.
That's what I was raised in, that belief that God is in charge of both bad and good. The crazy things, obviously the devil, But like daily good and bad, that was under God's purview. Like he put that obstacle in front of you for a reason. He wouldn't give you more than you could handle.
Oh my God.
That is what I
hate
hear
that one.
all the time.
What is it? God gives his strongest.
Wars the toughest battles.
Yeah, strongest warriors the toughest battles.
I don't like that.
I don't either. You
It
think
just-
I'm tough? I ain't tough. I
No,
wanna go to
because it's
sleep.
almost like you're trying to dismiss that this is hard.
Yeah.
And you're trying to invalidate that this is really freaking hard.
I mean, let's
So
keep
that's why I say I see them as a punishment.
I do not. I'm gonna say I do not, because I always think of like, okay, I could have done this for this not to happen, you know?
But that's a punishment.
Yeah, but I'm not thinking of it as like I know it's a punishment, but I'm not thinking of it as like, oh my God, it's because I didn't do this when I was supposed to do this. It was I rescheduled on that person.
There's a rational explanation, not
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
got
that's
it,
the way.
got it. The next one, I am kind to myself.
False.
Yes, it's a big false for me.
False.
I think other people are worthy of compassion and understanding. I should have known better.
Yeah.
That's always been my mindset, always. The last one, I treat myself with the same respect and appreciation that I give to others.
False.
I literally just said that. That I do not do that. So I think I'm 7 for 7. What were you at, Des?
6 for 7. Let's go.
What? That was growth, ladies and gentlemen. Be critical. What do you really think of? What do you think of yourself now that you've kind of analyzed it a little bit?
I'm a first child. So are you. So I, in my household, was like always brought up as like, you need to help mom with this. You need to help mom with this. You need to help dad with this. Another thing, I'm very thankful. My dad had 2 girls. So my sister and I learned how to do like quote unquote boy things as well. I never did it, but I know how to cut the grass if I need to. I know how to change my oil. I know how to change a tire. Just things that boys are supposed to know, you know, like, and my thing, I love to DIY. I redid my guest bathroom. Not redid it. I just like added things to it.
Yeah, it came out really cute.
Thanks. I need to fix it actually. It's on my like to-do list.
It'll get done.
I'm waving around. It's there. It's there. But so I learned how to do all that stuff as well. But the thing is, now that I know all this stuff, I don't necessarily think it was just how I was brought up. It could have also been like from other family too. Now that I know this stuff, I have to implement it to other people too.
Yeah.
You know, like if someone's like, oh man, like I love how you did your parents' pantry, because Andrew and I redid it together. And I could be like, well, if you need help, I can help you. I can do it for you. You know, like,
Yeah.
I don't need to say that.
Yeah, the people pleasing comes out.
Yeah, I can take the compliment. I just feel like I agree with that statement. My self-worth really wraps around on what
You
my
are to other
labels
people.
are.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, but then if you do it that way, if your self-worth is tied that way, when you're failing, when another person's perspective of you, that you are failing in one of these roles, it's devastating. And it kind of shocks who you are as a person. Has that ever happened to you?
I guess the most recent one was when I was going to school. It sounds like I'm about to cry. I am not. Why did it sound like that?
I don't know.
Did you hear it?
I heard it and then I was like,
Oh my God.
my eyes got all big like this. Like, it's a simple question.
So, I told y'all that as soon as I got out of high school, I went to the military because I thought that was the only route for me. I'm happy and thankful that my dad has always told us college is not for everybody. I'm very happy that my dad did not push college on me. I could have gone to college, but I decided not to. That did not work out. That's when like my self-worth was at its lowest, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay now. Most recently, I finally decided what I wanted to do. So I went to college and I started going to college. Well, I work full-time and I kind of do full-time classes. I'm considered full-time because I take 3 courses each semester. So I was like, I can do 3 courses. I think I can do 4. I did not. I was failing 2 of the 4 classes. And Andrew told me, like, he's like, as soon as you get off of work, you're working. You're like doing schoolwork, and you don't go to bed until 2 a.m. And I think that's when like my sleep problems happened. And then even at that, I would wake up earlier than I need for work just so I can like do more schoolwork. I was even doing schoolwork during work, which is not good.
Yeah, it was taking over too much of your life.
Yeah. So once I figured out that I was failing, and my teacher was like, okay, like something's wrong. I know you're doing good, but it was like I guess like an epiphany moment. I sent in the wrong paper because I was so sleep deprived. And my teacher said, I'm going to give you a second chance. It was actually my English teacher. This is my second semester having her. She was like, I'm going to give you a second chance because I know this wasn't the right paper. Because I know you can write better. And I was like, oh, fuck. So I dropped one of the other classes. And I told my parents. And my dad was kind of like, okay, well, this is really like just going to push back your schedule. But my mom was kind of upset. She was like, upset with me. She was like, why would you drop a class? Like, you're paying for that class already. You can't just do it. Like, you can't like work around it. And I was like, no, Mom, like, again, I think communication's going to be before this.
Yeah.
I was already sitting down with her, and I was like, Mom, this is really affecting like my mental health, and it's even affecting my work life, and I don't even get time to see Andrew anymore. And Andrew's already like established that I'm not seeing him and I'm not giving him time. And she was like, oh, I understand now. But when she was telling me like, you can't figure it out, you already signed up for it and you're already paying for these classes, why can't you figure it out? I was like, oh my God, why can't I figure it out? And I felt like a failure again, because I was like, I'm making my mom upset.
Yeah. For me, I've had an issue with me not living up to a role when it was being a wife. I think I had told, there was a period I was telling Des about where we weren't communicating that well between us, and Robert had expectations of his wife and what his wife should do, her role. And I've always been a very type A personality, organized, thinking of everything, remembering, like, I don't know if it's your birthday coming up. I remember, oh, they like the color purple and their favorite TV show is Friends, and like they like socks and they like pillows, and like having like a lot of backlog of people's information stored in my brain. And when I don't consider this to be me holding like an expectation that I'd be like this with everybody, but I can understand how when Robert is watching me kind of like live my life, he has this expectation that any little thing he needs, I'm going to pull it out of my ass. So there was a period where we were getting really nasty with each other, and we went to therapy because I couldn't understand why I was making him angry all the time. Like, I was trying really, really hard. And the therapist asked him to walk. We did this exercise where I talked about an instance where I felt I was being invalidated, and he gave his side of the same instance. And then that's when we both realized that he had the expectation that I would always remember everything, always be on top of everything, always have everything planned for him. And I was in the expectation where I wanted to pull back on that part because I was overwhelmed. I was tired, but we never communicated that to each other. But during that whole period leading up to that conversation, I felt like a horrible wife, that I was just failing at our marriage because I wasn't meeting his expectations. So a lot of my identity, especially in the beginning of our marriage, was wrapped up in my role as wife. And I created this superwoman who would cook, clean, do the dishes, remember everybody's birthday, take care, plan everything for him. And when that became overwhelming and I started to pull back, Robert's initial understanding of what my role is as a wife was changing, and he wasn't reacting the best way to it. But I wasn't communicating that I was overwhelmed, and he wasn't communicating that he still had that expectation of me. So that was a very difficult period for me because I felt like my role as his wife was being challenged.
No, I can agree with you. At least like when Andrew and I first moved in together, I told him like I would always clean, and I'll always take care of the laundry, and I'll put it away. And then I started figuring out that it's a lot to do. I know it's just two people, but it's a lot to keep up with. And I'm happy that Andrew and I were able to communicate. And I was like, I'm a little overwhelmed and I really need help. So now, like, he helps me put away the dishes, and if I do the laundry and I like separate it, he'll put it away, you know? It's just like those small things.
Yeah. And I think for you, like you had kind of communicated during the assessment that while these things are true, it's not like a far extreme for you. It's kind of in the middle.
Are you saying like for you it was more of an extreme?
I think so. Just when I'm thinking back to our validation episode and when I started having my issues with suicidal thoughts, that was in response to me feeling like I was a bad sister, a bad daughter, a bad girlfriend. Like my identity was so wrapped up in them that when I felt like I was failing at that, the spiral for me was just completely like death's door, like almost like I'm not a person without them.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So I think there's people who kind of like me and Des, I like that we do this because there's a spectrum of like people. There's things I'm sure Des is going to be way more hardline on than I am, and vice versa because of our experience and our perspective.
I mean, our punishment thing.
Yeah.
We're totally different.
Mm-hmm. We experience the same thing, just different degrees.
Yeah.
So how do we improve our worthiness? I think the first step to improving it is understanding it. Like understanding where our issues are coming from with our worthy, like with our self-worth.
Mine's family.
So what about family?
Huh?
What about family?
Oh, I was going to say.
Family.
I guess today's the day that everyone's been waiting for.
Ooh, I don't even know what day this is, but I'm ready.
I will say it, but I will get my dad's like approval before we like air it. My dad's side of the family, I feel like they hate me just because I'm my dad's daughter. My dad is the oldest of the family, but I just don't feel like they give a shit about him. Even though my dad will do anything for his family, you know? So every time we go over, I've said it before, I go over for my dad. Like, because he's like, hey, so-and-so really wants to see you. I know you don't like going over there, but they want to see you. And I'm like, okay, like, I'll do it for you. I'm doing it for you, you know? And I'm going to be there. I'm going to, like, smile, look pretty, you know? Everything that my dad taught me to do when I was younger.
Yeah.
The only thing is, every time I go there, I'm being fucking judged for something so little. So, like, the best example, I told Mary this one, and this was, like, the first time that, like, I guess I finally noticed it, and I was like, I'm fucking done. We were eating, and Andrew wasn't with me. Like, I can't remember. I think he was doing something with his family. And one of my family members was like, oh, Des, I heard you were in college now. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to college. They asked my major. I told them I'm really deciding, but I think I'm going to go into accounting. And they were like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you. Accounting's really hard. You'll always have a job. And my mom was like boasting about my achievements. She's like, actually, she's in the National Honor Society for college. And they were like, oh my God, like, I'm so proud of you. Like, this is perfect. Like, very good. Like, if you ever need anything, let me know. That specific family member.
Yeah.
Another person was like, well, my so-and-so, I'm trying to keep it like broad.
Yeah.
My so-and-so is still in high school and she's in the National Honor Society too. And I don't know, like, she was
comparing almost.
Yeah, like, they were comparing me, and I didn't want that. And I kind of just, like, let it happen, basically because it's not going to change anything.
Yeah.
I didn't want the recognition, you know, like, they asked me a question like, oh, you're in college. I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm going for. Just a normal conversation. I wasn't asking to be, like, praised or anything. It was just more so, like, give me spotlight.
Yeah, that you have a moment.
Yeah, and that specific person didn't say anything during that conversation when it was about me. When it was about the other person, They went on how amazing that one was, how perfect they were, and like they're doing God's work.
Yeah, basically.
Basically, that person, the one that they were talking about, I love that person. I have no hatred towards them. There's no reason for me to like be mad that we're compared to each other, because we shouldn't be compared to each other. One, I'm older, and it's not because like I'm older and I'm better. It's more so like
It's just at different stages.
Exactly. They're still in high school. I'm already out of high school, and I'm just figuring out my life,
Yeah.
So when that happened, I was like, okay, like I'm done. I don't really want to do this anymore.
Yeah, it sucks being compared to other family members.
Another one that was like my final, like I'm not coming here unless my dad like really wants me to come. I was upstairs and I made a joke to that specific person, and I was like, haha, like I'm your favorite out of the family. Just as a joke. I did not say anything else like, oh yeah, I'm the favorite. There's more context to it, but it's a little broad, so I'm trying to keep it that way. And they were like, no, you're not. In front of everybody, by the way. You could have told me that alone. And in front of people that aren't even family. Like, it was someone's like significant other. It's their first time there.
Yeah.
They were like, no, you're not. You're not my favorite. You are nowhere close to being my favorite. The favorite is so-and-so because I did this, or they did this, this, and this for me. You didn't do that for me.
I've had the same thing happen to me too. And I told you all about it. I called her and I told her what happened. So I know what you mean by it is devastating. Even if you're not close to that family member,
Yeah,
it still hurts because it almost makes it feel like you have no value in the space of the family.
it's not even like I love how you said it. I don't care about my value there, but it was my worth, because that person is still family to me, and that they're like kind of significant in my life. So them saying that, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you could have just you could have just joked about it, like, oh, like that's so funny. No, they went out of their way to be like, you are not my favorite, and this person gets better praise than you do.
Yeah.
I never asked to be compared to, and especially again, my sister and I are the oldest on that side, and we are compared to the younger ones, which sucks because I feel like for my sister and I, it doesn't bother us, but it might bother the other ones because we don't know. We don't talk about it like that.
And I also think that when you're supposed to be getting better as the generations move on, I think that should be the goal of any family, that things will be easier for the next generation. They'll be healthier for the next generation. So it's really, I don't like comparing because there's a lot of context that isn't being respected.
Right.
When you make those kind of comments.
Right. Just when I go over there, I just feel like my self-worth is a fucking doormat.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying so hard like not to say anything, because they don't take it out on me, they take it out on my dad.
Yeah. And imagine how devastating that is for a man who his children are being spoken to this way.
Exactly. Like my dad understands and he is upset about it. It's just more so like we can't really say anything.
Well, our culture doesn't allow you to say anything.
But another thing, they say it to my dad, and another thing is like, she's a woman. You should have taught her better, and you should have like, I don't know, like teach her better, because she's not supposed to speak to me like that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like when we talked about in the previous episodes about, I want to be able to challenge the things I'm seeing that are wrong and still feel part of the family.
But like my mom's side, love that family. Self-worth through the roof.
I know I'm valued over there.
I am valued. I am validated.
So my side is obviously going to be more dramatic.
Nice.
So I do like that Des and I both provide stories that are different, but they both have the same outcome. Our self-worth was affected by the stories that we tell. Even if it was affected in different ways, it should serve to the audience, if you're thinking about your influence on other people, if you see yourself as the role of the perpetrator and not in our perspective,
Yeah.
that you're still causing damage, albeit maybe a little not so extreme. Like how me and Des were talking about our perspective on the assessment, where she's kind of in the mid range and I'm more on the extreme. Like there's less gray area for me.
Right.
That's based on trauma, but any kind of trauma is going to leave damage. Any degree of trauma is going to leave damage. Like Des had a really nice counterbalance with another side of the family, which I did too, where there was another side of the family that gave you that worth and self-respect. But the instance where it was taken away from you is still going to affect you.
I don't know if I can snap, but it was like that, you know, like a snap. Like I felt the self-worth finally, and then it was just taken away.
Yep. Because it's still traumatic, even if there's things to cushion it. So I think we have to be, as a culture, we have to recognize our practices are causing this.
Yeah.
And we have to challenge it to change it. And hopefully our kids will have it easier or better. Not to just, they're still going to grow up with our values, but it won't be so detrimental to their mental health.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, mine's a little more traumatic.
Do you want some wine?
Yes. I already picked up the glass. This story is not, I've been sitting with it because it came up in my therapy. I've been sitting with it for a while, so I don't think I'll have an issue saying the story. So I was recently diagnosed with depersonalization disorder. Look it up. I don't want to talk about it. But it basically affects my self-worth because I don't even recognize myself as a person anymore. The depersonalization part. I am not a person in the situation. I'm an outsider watching my trauma. I'm not living my trauma. That's just a quick little blurb.
If you want more info, the interwebs has it.
Use the interweb. I'm still doing research about it too, but I like having a name, like I was telling Des, so that I know how to attack it.
Right.
Once I know my enemy, I can attack my enemy.
Yeah.
So it's going to get better. So I actually, when I was doing my research, I was able to pinpoint the exact moment that I think this switch in my mind occurred, where my value no longer became of importance to me. As long as, like I was telling Des, I have no value if I'm in service of someone else. So I was about 5 or 6. We had to go to work with my dad. We were already dressed and ready for him to take us because we knew better. But he was not, because he was always running late everywhere. And he couldn't find all of his stuff to take with him to work. And he blamed us for it. Things got physical. I don't really want to get into details because it's not really relevant at that point. We made it to the car. This entire time my brother was crying, because obviously things had gotten physical in the house. He was in pain. He was scared. Mm-hmm. We got in the car. He was still crying. And my dad started driving us to his work. And my dad typically would hit us when we were in the car. Like that wasn't out of the norm. But I don't know why on this particular day, like I felt my brother had been through enough. And when my dad was yelling at him like to shut up, stop effing crying, get over it. It's over. Just shut up. Like he was already worked up. So the sound was irritating him. Mm-hmm. So I saw him put his hand in a fist and prepare to swing it back. But I also knew that he couldn't take his eyes off the road to do this while he was driving. So I kind of just instinctually pushed him out of the way and slid my knee because he was aiming for his knee.
You pushed your brother out of the way.
Yeah. And so I could take the hit and he wouldn't. And this went on, he hit him until we got to his work. Basically, when we got to the gates, because he was in the military and we had to go get checked in, he stopped at that point. But my brother realized that he was continuing to hit because he was still crying. So by this time, he kind of suppressed it. So for me, I know that moment has always stuck out to me in my mind because I call upon it to justify when I allow someone to belittle me or get rid of my self-worth because I'm saving someone else from that pain.
Yeah.
And so I've internalized it to the extent where anytime I think that it'll be easier for them to be mad at me than to be mad at you, I will do it. I'll stay silent. If there's instances even at work where someone else has messed something up and I know they messed it up, but I won't say anything.
You'd rather take it.
I'd rather for me, yeah, I'd rather the blame be shared than be targeted on that person. And even as an adult now, I still find that in my relationships with Robert. Like if I perceive that something's going to cause his pain, I'll go deal with it so that he doesn't have to. So I'll have uncomfortable conversations with family members where they get irritated with me because I'm communicating something that really should have been coming from him. But I'm trying to save him from whatever it is. Any little pain I perceive is going on.
Like we said off the podcast, because you can handle it.
Yeah, I can take the heat. He can't. So, like, for instance, there was a period where his dad, and we can cut this out if he doesn't want me saying it, but his dad kept making comments about, because everybody gains a little bit of weight after high school, and his dad kept saying it. And I saw how much it was bothering him. So I went over there and started poking fun at his weight to prove a point that it's not funny. And he would give me attitude and, of course, like make little comments back at me. But I felt like I could take it. So you can be mean to me. Just stop being mean to him.
Yeah. Of course, I guess like preference. I'm sure Robert could have taken it and maybe Robert would have said something. But it's more so like this is how Mary
perceived it.
Right.
Yeah. I perceived something bad happening. And I know to him, he's like, whatever. I don't care. But to me, if it were me, I would care. So I internalize the pain that I've made up and I go and defend that pain. So how do we build our worthiness?
I would like to know, please.
So now that we have identified what causes the unworthiness, I think for you, Des, boundaries. A hard line boundary.
You know what? I don't need this right now.
You're going to tell me mine.
You're attacking me? I'm just kidding.
You're going to tell me mine. But for me, if you were asking, I'd say a hard line boundary. That you're not going to go over there anymore.
In the beginning of this podcast, I said I didn't have any boundaries with my families. Now I do. Yeah. I have huge ones now.
Growth. Because you know it's okay to set that boundary. You're not a bad daughter or a bad friend or a bad sister for saying, I know this person is important to you, but they are hurting me. So I'm not going to go over there anymore.
Right. So that's one boundary. And I think the next boundary, I probably should have a conversation with my dad and just be like, can I talk back? Because I want to, of course, should.
Let's do it this way. I'm going to talk back.
Yeah.
The next time it happens. If you don't want me to, then I'm not going to go.
My dad has been waiting for me to say this. My dad in family and friends is known as the ass because my dad says it how it is. Feelings hurt or not.
Yeah, he does.
So I know my dad has my back during that time, but it's just more so like I don't want him to get the heat of my situation.
I get what you mean, but I think that you can't control the way people react to you.
Yeah. Again, I will set those boundaries. Mm-hmm. Do not get me wrong.
But I'm just trying to empower you by saying it is not your responsibility to mitigate or manage how they're going to respond to you.
'Tis the first child
syndrome. Because you don't want to cause a problem. You don't want to be the problem.
Right.
But when you're talking about your mental health and they're belittling you, they're making comments, they're training you to act a certain way that you're going to, like what we talked about in the last episode or a couple episodes ago. Our families don't realize that I'm your family, so I can talk to you which way I want to. You're setting that expectation for the next random person on the side of the street to talk to your daughter that way because you told them it was okay.
Yeah.
And granted, you can't be responsible for how someone reacts to you, but when you're raising children and you're helping them, to a certain extent, the lessons you're teaching them are not just going to be applied in the family situation. It's going to happen outside the household. If some random person said something like that to you, that you have no worth, your dad would be so angry.
I mean, for a while, it was like that with Voldemort.
Yes.
He has returned.
And if that's part of the reason why you haven't said anything about that situation to your parents, because you know how upset they'd be. That tact needs to be across the board, including with other family members who say things like that. And I understand that that's for him, that's his boundary, because those are that's his family, and he doesn't want to take that hard line with them, and that's fine. But he can't tell you can't.
Yeah. Damn.
For me, it is further therapy because I have to retrain the way I think. The way it is coming, the way that I am responding to the trauma has affected my thinking. I have a core belief. I've come to truth with it. I have a core belief that I have no value. And it doesn't just go with relationships. It's in any situation. I have no value. That to me, that is a core belief. Something that you die by the sword is what a core belief is. It's something that you believe to your core about yourself or about your situation. It is something that is subconscious. But now that I'm aware of it, I can start making changes in like my thinking, especially with affirmations.
I personally think counseling has helped you tremendously.
I definitely recognize a lot more than I did before because I also think I want to preface that with Desiree, because her trauma is different, the treatment is different.
Yeah.
Just like my trauma is different, so my treatment is different. So with Desiree, she needs to feel empowered to make these changes. I need to recognize that there needs to be changes because our reactions are different. Everybody's a different person, and so the treatment to handle it is a different. So if you're going to give advice that you're hearing from our podcast to somebody else, be aware that it might work for you, it might not work for them. It's still worth saying because something in it might be worth working out.
I actually just had a friend that was like, I sent your podcast over to so-and-so because I think it would help. And I was like, I hope they find something in there.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting the whole thing to be like life-changing. You know, that just that one piece of like
the story.
And they're like, you know what? I think this is it. Like, this is their epiphany moment, you know?
Yeah. And I think that when it comes to when you're dealing with trauma on my level, you have to go to therapy because because it happened at such a young age. I think that I was trained this way for the rest of my life. Like, it's going to follow me because it happened when I was so young.
Yeah.
So I have to retrain the way I think. And I don't know how to do that safely. No one in my family would have the skills to know how to do that safely either. So I have to look at resources beyond the family unit.
Right.
To adjust it. So I think therapy for someone in my situation would be prudent, but someone in yours not necessarily. But if you wanted to, you could still get benefits out of it.
I think one day I will.
Yeah.
When I can afford it.
Well, and then that's always going to be a factor. But then research. If you notice something about yourself that you don't like, Google it. I do it all the time. Like when she gave me the name of it, like depersonalization disorder, I Googled it like crazy. I watched all kinds of videos. I read all kinds of articles about the effects. Because then when I started listening to it, I'm like, oh my God, I do that. I do that. I do that. And now that I know what my mind is doing, because a lot of these things I was doing subconsciously. Mm-hmm. So once you become awareness is key when you're treating trauma. And so if you have a question and you want to get answers, ask. There's so many different resources out there on the internet for people nowadays. And there's those videos that Des had sent last time. Amazing. I even sent her one back about the depersonalization disorder.
Please, if you do ask, it's someone you trust and someone that values your opinion as well.
And someone who isn't afraid to say this is beyond my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
You need to speak to someone else, like a counselor.
Because personally, I think like vice versa for Mary and I. If I came to Mary asking for advice on that, I don't think Mary would know what to do. And if Mary came to me for advice, I for sure as hell would not know what to do.
So stay positive. Let praise and criticism roll off your back during this experience.
Oh, damn. Roll off your back?
Roll off the back. Doing a little shoulder shake. I think that is important when you're trying to build your self-worthiness you can't put too much value in other people's praise and criticism of you. You have to do it for yourself. The value should come from you.
Someone could have said that your achievement was amazing. That's
okay.
Good. That's okay to say, you know what? I like that they said that. But it's you that needs to say.
I'm really proud of myself too.
Yeah, I'm proud of my achievement.
The third thing that we can try is get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I have been doing this. It's what I call trial by fire. So I am very uncomfortable when people compliment me on anything. It makes me very, very uncomfortable. My husband's nodding. It makes me very, very uncomfortable. I will make a comment that's detrimental to myself to make me feel more comfortable.
You do that a lot with me.
Yes.
I know you don't intend to.
I just like, I don't like compliments. They make me so uncomfortable. So what I've been doing, because my therapist made me aware of this, is that when she compliments me on like handled something well, I don't say anything. I just sit in it. And it's just so uncomfortable not to say, but I'm a dumbass. It's so hard not to be like, but I'm still an idiot.
I feel like I've changed how I tell you. Not because, like,
That you know what I'm doing.
yeah. Like, the scrunchies. I freaking love those scrunchies you have. They're your little Disney ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I just say I love the scrunchies. But for real, I love how they look on you.
I know, but I would not accept that.
Exactly. So that's why I'm like, I love your scrunchies.
Because she'll be like, I love how that scrunchie looks on you. Is it because I'm fat? Is it because I'm fat?
Like, Mary, that had nothing to do with it.
But that's how, like, I think that's how my mind is, and that's how low my worthiness is,
Yeah.
or my worth to myself is, that any kind of compliment makes me uncomfortable. And even people complimenting my dog makes me uncomfortable. So it's a process. You got to retrain the way you think. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Remember, I don't know how many times we said it. It's gonna be a process. Nothing will happen overnight.
And it's going to be an uncomfortable process. So
Tis
once you kind
been-
of get comfortable, you'll never go back.
Yeah. 'Tis been 25 years and I am still learning.
I am something. I'm 21 years old. I was today years old
Yeah.
when I discovered I have self-worth.
When I learned today I have problems.
I'm going to do that from now on. I'm today years old and I realized how boss I am. So are we good? What time are we at? I think we're good.
Okay. So on that note, I guess we should close out on self-worth. Remember, you are amazing.
You are worthy.
You are worthy.
And get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
It will help, I promise.
I think that's my biggest takeaway, because it's helped me the most, is allowing things that are good, that make me uncomfortable, happen without my comments.
Yes.
So I encourage you all to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
So thank you so much for tuning in on Now Try It With Wine. I'm Des,
And I'm Mary.
and we'll see you next week on whatever episode and topic it'll be, because we never know.
Yup. Peace out, homies.
Bye.
Bye.
And don't you forget that charcuterie board, you heard?